All right, awesome. So let's start first and foremost with a little introduction, Chris, because a lot of people don't know you here in our group, but I do, and I've known you for a long time. We obviously were in the same company in the past. We're now finding ourselves back in the same company, which is really cool. You have grown a massive real estate team over the years, and now, starting to expand inside the EXP space. And so maybe just a quick little intro to your background in real estate, and your team and how you've led them. And I think that's going to be a great segue into why people want to hear what you have to say today and take that into their own business, because clearly you've helped a lot of people be very successful in real estate. So if you don't mind starting with the intro, that would be fantastic.
Yeah, sure. So I'm, my name is Chris Craddock. I'll just give kind of like a 3-minute kind of what brought me to where I am today. Graduated from college, 2000. Went on staff with an organization called Young Life. I loved Young Life, changed my life, thought it was awesome. When 2003 rolled around, I was still making somewhere between 20 and 25,000 a year with Young Life. And my wife got pregnant. And anybody that knows the DC area knows you cannot live on 20 to 25,000 a year in the DC area. She was going to stay home with the kids, and yeah, that just did not work. And so I went to the library, checked out every book I could find on real estate and investing, read Rich Dad Poor Dad, which, by the way, if you have not read that book, it is a prerequisite to life if you want to ever make any money, like ever keep any money out there. And so then I read a bunch of other books that I couldn't even tell you what they were on investing. And then kind of, my whole thing in life has always been massive imperfect action. Just started knocking on doors of people that were in distress, people that had auctions, whatever. And in 4 months, I made 12 times what I made in a year in real estate. Continued doing ministry for a while. And then as I had more kids, I've got 6 now. Which, man, I'll tell you what, if I knew what caused it, I could finally stop it. But I've got 6 kids now, and anybody knows anything about kids knows that it's like throwing all your money in a bathtub and somebody pulls the plug and it just disappears. And so all of a sudden I was doing everything I could to make a few bucks. And I'm like, why not do real estate again? And so I started flipping houses, but at this point the crash has happened, and it was just crazy. So everything was like essentially a short sale at this point. And so I was able to flip short sales, but they were going to pay me 6% to flip my own short sales, but they wouldn't give me that money if I wasn't licensed. So I was like, well, I'll get a real estate license. Well, through that time, the banks changed their algorithm on what they would approve. And so it stopped being lucrative to flip short sales. The margins were way skinnier. Well, I had a real estate license, and I'm like, well, what do I do with all these short sales now that the banks aren't approving them? So I just started listing them, and I was like, dang, I'm making like $6,000 for this 200,000 listing. I'm making 12 grand for this like $400,000 listing. This isn't bad. And I also don't have any overhead. I'm not buying the house to flip it. Like, this is crazy. And then I came across Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent, in 2014. We started building our real estate team, and now we're 37 agents. We'll do 500 to 700 transactions. Depends on how the second half of the year goes with this slowing market. I've got 13 streams of income: title, insurance, construction, lending, hard money lending, flipping, wholesaling, rental properties. I don't know. It just goes on and on. Coaching, like all these different things. And so it's really, really cool. It's been really fun. But I really love helping people succeed in real estate. Just a little bit about me. One of my goals is that I'm going to help 10 people become multimillionaires in the next decade. And 3 have done it already over the last 3 years. So I'm about 1 a year. So I have that goal that 10 in 10 years, and we're on pace to do it. So who knows, maybe we'll double that number. But that's me in a nutshell. I think I went longer than 3 minutes, but I'm sorry.
No, that's perfect. I love it. And so you're in the DC market. You have a 30-some agents. They're doing 500, 600, 700 transactions a year right now. And so today you're going to talk about how you believe an agent can continue to level up their business right now. And you've been through a variety of markets, which is fantastic. You and I both have. And so finding those opportunities and being that uncommon agent, right, in that market, finding the niches, finding those riches in the niches, getting out there and do some of the things that maybe other people aren't willing to do, or just understanding opportunity or seeing opportunity differently, I think is something you clearly have experience with. Personally, you've done it and you've helped other agents. So we're excited just to learn from you today, whatever it is you're willing to share with us. And hopefully you guys all are ready to take notes, learn something, take one thing, and then go take action, because like every single call we do, it's great to learn, but if we don't do anything with what we learn, we aren't going to get a result. So we've got to take action. So at the end, we'd love to hear you guys share what it is you heard that you can go take action on, or you can employ in your business. So remember, we always ask that at the end. Of course, this is interactional, so unmute yourself, ask Chris questions, or chat in the chat box and I'll monitor it. I'm also monitoring the live stream to see if there's any questions there, Chris, so I'll let you know if there are. So I'm just gonna let you take it away and share with us what you got.
Yeah, so the first thing that I want to share before anything else, and actually one question I have for you. I know that I'm speaking today, and I know I'm speaking one other time, and I have both of my messages ready because it's similar messages I normally give. Which was the message that was of the day today? Do you know which one today?
Whichever one you want to go with.
All right, I'll just pick one and go with it. So
I agree, and then we'll do the other one next time.
All right, I love it. I love it. Okay, perfect. Well, before we get into that, anything else, I want to share the thing that I talk about all the time, and the thing that I think is most important for real estate agents to understand is real estate agents' biggest problem is they don't buy their own products. You don't eat your own cooking, right? Like we tell everybody else to go buy real estate. We tell everybody else wealth is built through real estate. Are you buying real estate? One, real estate agents that rent properties instead of own properties. Oh my gosh, dear Lord, please buy your product. Buy that. Wealth is when your money works harder than you do, right? So I have a podcast, the Uncommon Real Estate Podcast. I would love if you're interested, check it out. It's for agents/investors. And I'll tell you, any agent that is not also an investor, you're missing out, right? Because think about this. Right now, if you go on vacation, your wealth goes on vacation. If you go on vacation, if you get sick, your income gets sick. Like if you are not trading time for dollars, you're losing, right? And so here's the deal is if we were on Wall Street, we would go to jail for something that the government actually doesn't only allow us to do, but incentivizes us to do, right? It's called insider trading, right? We are allowed to insider trade as real estate agents. And it's really, really, really crazy here because not only do they allow us to insider trade, they also give us advantages. So I'm going to tell you real quick, and this is not what we're going to spend most of our time talking about, but it's just such a big passion of mine that I don't ever talk now without saying build wealth, build wealth, build wealth, right? And so, so one of the things that they allow us to do is they allow us to take all, like if you buy a rental property, you can take all of the depreciation that normally happens, the tax benefits that over 27 and a half years, you can take it all in your first year against your active income. So let's say you make, let's just call it 100,000. Let's say you bought a couple properties. You literally can take all 27 and a half years of depreciation and pay zero taxes if you depreciate all of them. And it requires you to go through an engineer that can do it as a desktop. It usually costs $500 to $600 to do it if the structure of the house is worth less than $500,000. So if anybody has any questions, reach out to me on Instagram or however you want to reach out, and I'll put you in touch with a guy that can do it for a few $100. It's really, really cool. The second thing is this. Always, 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 if you are in real estate, if you target distressed sellers, then you have two options, right? You can either buy it yourself, flip it, wholesale it, keep it as a rental, or you can list it and make whatever you make on the listing side, right? How cool is that you have multiple tools in your tool belt? If you go after expired listings, I'm sorry, you're not usually going to get people that are going to sell their house for 80 cents on the dollar if they're expired. You're competing against 40 other agents that are calling them that morning, right? So if you go after kind of the niche market houses, which are people in distress, people off market, you can find people that are willing to sell at a massive, massive discount, or you can list it for them. And you may be competing against some people, but it's not as many people. And so if anybody wants any lead sources, any data sources, anything like that, just reach out to me and I'm happy to share. I'm happy to share where I get data. If you're in my market, some of my lead sources are auction-based lead sources. So it gets bid up. So I definitely don't want to bid up my leads, but if you're out of my market, I'll share all of our lead sources with you. And I'm an abundance-minded guy, but I'm also a bottom line minded guy. And the way that some of these lead sources work is if you compete, like it raises the prices of the lead source. So outside of my market, everything you want, let me know. So with that said, for those of you that are joining us here live, I want to ask a question. What does the common agent in your market? How many deals does the common agent do in your market?
Okay, this is interactional. What do you guys think? I would say, well, I know what an average agent does, which is kind of the same as common in my mind, which would be about probably 6 to 8 sales a year.
Right. Yeah. I refer average, common, like all of those, like common is what I would think is average, just what everybody else does. So 6 to 8 sales. What's the average house price in America is just over 400,000. So somewhere between $60,000 and $90,000 minus whatever cap you pay to your brokerage, minus marketing expenses, minus gas, minus signs, minus lock boxes. What do you think they take home? 50 grand, 60 grand?
Yeah, that's about right.
Okay. Who here, like literally, put a 1 in the chat or respond that this is you. Who here is super excited about the prospect of making 50 grand in 2023? Who here wakes up every morning saying, man, if I could only make 50 grand, man, life would be so awesome. Anybody? All right. So none of us desire to be common. We don't wake up dreaming to be common. We don't wake up to be like dreaming that we're going to be like everybody else, right? Man, I hope one day I can just make 50 grand. Although I will say this, when I was in ministry, there was a time where I was like, man, if I could only make 50 grand, life would be so much better, but it's not today anymore. So what I will say is this: the common agent does common things. If you want uncommon results, you got to have uncommon actions. Or in the way that Nick Saban, which say whatever you want about Nick Saban, he has uncommon results, right? Or the way Nick Saban phrases it is, everybody wants to be the beast, but not everybody wants to do what the beast does, right? Like everybody wants a 6-pack, but not everybody wants to not eat a whole pizza in one sitting. Right? Like that is great. Everybody wants to be fit and fit into clothes where you look like slim and sleek and look awesome. Right. But then we also want that extra helping of ice cream and maybe the 3rd or 4th glass of wine. Right. So like all of those things, they are opposite, to where we want to be. So let's talk about what the common agent does in the morning. Common agent, average agent. What time does the average agent wake up, and what are they doing right when they wake up?
Probably looking at their social media or being super distracted and not having any sort of time block, as most of it. So it's like I think we've talked about it in these sessions before, like how easy it is to just pick up your phone and go right into like a full-on distraction and not even realize like what is setting your intention for the day. Yeah.
Social media, email, texting, just all the different things, and then when we come into work, or when we start our work day, we're just like, you're playing defense the whole day. Right. And if you put what's in your email inbox is the most important thing, or your text box, or social media as the number one important thing, I'm telling you right now, you have allowed everybody else to dictate what's most important in your calendar. You have not decided what's most important for you, right? And I'll tell you what, at the end of the day, even people that love you, is their number one goal your success? It's not. Even people that love you, right? Like, we've just got to understand this. If we understand the truth about everything in life, everybody is walking around with WIFM written on their forehead. What's in it for me, right? And I believe that there are some really nice people out there. I believe that there are people out there that love us, that care about us, that want the best for us. But most people are not waking up every morning and the first thing and the last thing that they think about every single day is how you will be more successful, right? You will find some special people like that, but most people aren't. So when most people reach out to you, it's about their agenda, their goals, their dreams, their things that they want to accomplish, not yours, right? Now, don't get me wrong. Zig Ziglar says you can have everything you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want in life. But the reality is, if we are not intentional, if we are not uncommon about how we structure our day will get away from us every day. And I'll share this. So I played sports in high school and college, and then I got out of college and I just got sloppy. I got doughy. I put on weight and all the other stuff because I am so goal oriented and I had no goal. Why am I going to run? There's like nowhere to run to. I don't have any goals to score or anything else. I just want to, not be fat. Well, the idea of not being fat was not strong enough for me to like wake up and run and exercise and all the other stuff. And so finally, so every day I had the same thing happen. It was like Groundhog Day over and over and over again, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to wake up and work out in the morning, wake up. And I'm like, oh, I got stuff to do. I got emails. I got fires I got to put out. I'll do it right before lunchtime. Okay. Lunchtime rolls around, but the day rolled into lunchtime. I'll do it at lunchtime. I'll do it after lunch. You know what? I'll do it after dinner. You know what? I'll do it after I put the kids to bed. You know what? I'll do it tomorrow. Anybody ever been there? Okay, so I see a couple heads shaking, right? And see what happened was, it's not that you don't have time. It's just that the time that I decided to spend was going to be allotted to something else, right? And so I'm naturally, like in college, I would go to bed about the time that I wake up now. I'm naturally like a nighttime person. If I would just allow myself to be like, to do whatever my body's circadian rhythm would want. And, but what happened was I started reading a lot of biographies and I started looking at a lot of people that I respect. And I just realized that there was nobody that I massively respected, that was waking up around 8 a.m., 9 a.m. and starting their day. Like, it just didn't happen, right? They were all waking up early. And then when I dug into it deeper, what I realized is they all would make sure that they got their stuff done early in their day, right? The stuff that was important. And if you've ever read the book, The One Thing, I think it's really important. The whole idea is that if you can figure out what your top things are that you've got to get done, and you get them all done before noon, you can throw away the rest of the day and you've still won your day. Because at the end of the day, everybody wants to win, but think about it like a football game, right? So Nick Saban and Bill Belichick talk about this, right? In a football game, if you want to win the game, you've got to win the quarter, right? And so the game is 4 quarters. If you win the quarter, you win, right? And then if you win a series, you win, right? And then if you win the play, you win. So if you win each play, you'll win the series. If you win the series, you'll win the quarter. If you win the quarter, you'll win the game. Right. And the same thing's true with us. If we break down our lives, right, we have these yearly goals, right? What's your yearly goal? Like, think about it. I want to do X number of transactions. I want to make X number of dollars, right? Well, what happens is we get through the year and we're like, just like working out. Well, I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen. I'm going to make it happen. And at the end of the year, we're like, oh man, I didn't hit my goals. I didn't hit my numbers. Well, maybe next year. Right. But if we break it all down and say, okay, if I want to win my year, I got to win my quarter. If I want to win my quarter, I've got to win my month. If I want to win my month, I got to win my week. And if I want to win my week, I got to win my day. And if I want to win my day, I win my morning. And if I win my morning more times than I lose, and James Clear in his book, Atomic Habits, which if you've never read, you've got to read it. He says this: every single day, every single action, we're taking a vote of who we want to be, right? Do I eat more ice cream or do I choose to eat healthy? Do I wake up and do my lead gen or do I choose to sleep in? Every day we're taking a vote. But the good news is this: we don't have to win by unanimous vote. We just have to win by majority vote, which means we have to do the right actions more time than we do the wrong actions. And we start becoming that person that we want to be, right? So we can kick ourselves when we eat that whole piece of pizza or that whole pizza pie in one night and we binge eat it and we say, oh my gosh. But if you eat right more than you eat wrong, then you're going to become that person you want to be. If you do the right thing more than you do the wrong thing, you're going to become the person you want to be. So what does that look like? Let me share with you my morning routine. Most mornings, again, sometimes I don't, like transparency. Right now my HVAC is out and inside my house is 93 degrees in a lot of different rooms. I bought some portable AC units. So certain rooms are okay, but I work out in my basement. I've got a gym in my basement. And so I'll just tell you, while the AC is out, it's like in my basement, it's a little cooler, but it's still 80 degrees in the basement. I'm just like, you know what? I'm not working out while it's 80 degrees in the basement. And I've just decided I'm okay with that. So with that said, what we need to do is, and the worst part about it is we're building a new house that we should have been in right now. And every time I go over and check out the new house, the AC is blasting and we've got 4 different AC units. So I could have all the different ones, but we're still in the house here that I love, but man, only 1 unit, bad news.
There's no need for a workout when you could just lose all that extra water weight through sweat. So
I mean, it's like a sauna, right? Like,
right. You're in the DC area. I was originally from Williamsburg, Norfolk area. So it's just humid this time of year. You can't stand it. I'm sorry. That's why my jaw was like, oh.
No words. But with it on a normal day, I wake up every morning. Because I'm a leader, one of the things that I do in my group is all the people that are in my world, like especially my direct reports, I think about them. I'm still a Christian guy, so I pray for them. I think, how can we grow our world? Because I know that the second my world stops growing, that they're going to hit glass ceilings and their world no longer can expand. So I've got to grow my world so that their world can grow, because we're all like fish and expand to the size of our tank. And so I think about them. I pray for them. I think, how can we grow? Again, Christian guy, I read my Bible every morning because I want to feed myself spiritually. I write down my goals because I need to understand my big why. Like I rewrite them down over and over again. I journal because I want to record when I'm thinking about how I'm growing, how I'm a different person today than I was last year. All of these different things is what I do. And then I go downstairs in my basement and I work out, right? But while I'm working out, I'm always listening to something. Right now, I'm listening to the book Excellence Wins for a second time, which is one of the best books ever on customer service. It's written by the owner and founder of the Ritz-Carlton. It is incredible. If you've never read it, it's a great, like this, along with Raving Fans, are like 2 of the best books on customer service and making sure people have a wow experience when they work with you. And so, so I do that. So it's the genius. Jim Collins calls it the genius of the and. And then I come upstairs, have breakfast, shower. I usually have a Bluetooth speaker, so I'm still listening to something like a football player. I'm getting myself ready. I'm getting myself ramped up for the day. And then I get into my day. I usually meet with my wife for about 5 minutes before the day starts. We'll talk about what's going on for the day, kind of have our family morning huddle. And then I jump in and we have our team morning huddle every day from 9 to 9:30 a.m. We used to only do it a couple times a week, the training a couple times a week. But when COVID started, this phrase hit me, which I just think was so incredible. I came across this. The Navy SEALs, they never, ever, ever believe that they're going to achieve at the level of their dreams or aspirations. They always think they're going to fall to the level of their training, right? And so our goal with my team and who we are is that we are never going to practice on the people that pay us. We are going to practice so that when we get in front of clients, when we get in front of people that are going to give us their money to help them, they are going to know that they've worked with professionals who have been practicing, who are working hard, and who are uncommon in this market, right? And then let me ask, for lead generation, what does the common agent do for lead generation? All right. So we've gotten through the morning, right? The uncommon agent just wakes up, rolls out of bed, figures it all out. The uncommon agent is purposeful all through the morning, right? Like I want to feed myself physically, spiritually, mentally. I want to feed my goals. Oh, and let me just say this too. Here's one other piece. If anybody ever get into a malaise, like where you're just like, I'm tired, I'm burnt out. Anybody ever? All right, so let me just share this with you. If you are feeling that way, 100% and almost always, well, let's say 99% of the time, it comes back to this. Your goals feel like they're too far away, right? You feel like your goals are too far away. You feel like, oh man, I'm never going to reach them. It's too far. It's too long. And so I'm telling you, your body physiologically will absolutely run harder if they see the finish line, and it'll shut down if it doesn't. So here's a perfect example. There was a swimmer. She swam the English Channel, which I'm not a swimmer, but I'll tell you, anybody that's a swimmer has told me that's like one of the hardest swims in the world, like crazy. And I believe that it's crazy, right? That same swimmer was swimming, which is a much easier swim, from Catalina Island to the mainland of San Diego. And she started to sink, right? All of a sudden this fog descended and she couldn't see where she was going, and her body just cramped up. She started sinking. They had to pull her out of the water so she didn't drown. It was a much easier swim, but she stopped being able to see where she was going. She couldn't touch it, taste it, feel it. And literally her body shut down on her, right? So if Brandon Bouchard says high performers know how to create energy, if you don't see your goal, if you can't taste your goal, if you can't interact with your goal, your body just physiologically is going to shut down. You're going to lose energy. You're going to feel like you're burnt out. You're going to feel like you're in a life malaise, and you're never going to get past that. Anybody have any questions, comments, anything I can answer on that, or any thoughts?
That's great. I was just going to say, when you feel like you're in that, and I mean, I feel like I'm finally starting. I had a really good conversation with Carrie pretty recently about how I felt like there were just mountains. And like, sometimes when you've been over these little like mountains, even though the final mountain isn't like, there's this really very country saying that's like, don't make a mountain out of a molehill, but it just means like, don't make something out of nothing. And I feel like sometimes it's very easy to do when you're putting that energy out, like you just don't have the energy to get over that. But it's just shortening that goal side up to say, this is an achievable action. And I think that's those action steps. I feel like that we're kind of talking about, what are those action steps to shorten that goal?
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah. You just get through it. And when you, like you said, shorten the goal. So one of the things I did when I decided I was tired of being all soft and doughy was I was just like, I need to have a goal. I'm going to run a marathon, right? Which sounds crazy. I know some people say 5K, but I'm like, I could run a 5K by pushing through it. I can't run a marathon without training, right? And so I made 2 rules. I looked at it, and Oprah ran a marathon in 4 hours. So I was like, I am not going to lose to Oprah. I am definitely going to beat 4 hours. That was one of my goals. And the other goal was I wasn't going to walk, right? And so those were the 2 things that I was just the whole time, going to keep going. It may be a slow jog, but there's no way I'm going to walk, and I'm going to beat Oprah. And so those were like the 2 goals that I had. But with it, when I was training, I'll tell you, I would just like be so tired where I just wanted to stop, and I would just pick a tree and just be like, okay, run to the tree, or pick a mailbox and say, run to that mailbox. And then you get to the mailbox and say, okay, one more mailbox. And so that whole idea is like, you can do this whole thing. You know, I actually went back to school, I got a master's, and then I actually have a doctorate as well. And one of the phrases that I would always say is, you can do anything for 15 minutes at a time, right? Like I literally every morning when I was working on my doctoral, my dissertation, I'd literally just 15 minutes every single day, and just got through it by doing it all 15 minutes a day. And so when we look at it, we can say, I can lead generate for 15 minutes, and then you're 15 minutes up, I can do another 15 minutes. And just make sure you're doing that for 2 hours, and then you're done. I mean, that's the difference between common and uncommon, right? I mean, how many?
I don't want to like keep intruding. I think about it. It was just that saying that I think we've all heard before, that clarity is power, right? So like when you're closer to that tree, like when you're going through those 15-minute bursts or whatever, and you're needing to have that, like, I need that really clear 15-minute focus in and on whatever it is, like whether it's getting to the next tree when you're running outside, or whether it's 15 minutes of like, okay, let me get to one more no so I can get closer to my yes, if you're lead genning.
Yeah, 100%. And that's it. You just have to keep pushing all the way through. And I'll tell you, that's the difference between common and uncommon, right? Like the common agents, every single day, they wake up and they wait for people to call them. The uncommon agents are the ones that are making things happen. I just finished reading General Mattis's, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Like him, hate him, whatever you want. To be in that role, it's like the president, right? Like every president is so polarizing, whether it's Bush, Obama, Trump, Biden. Like some people love them and some people hate them. It just is what it is. But here's what I can say about every single one of those people. They were all exceptional to get there. As much as you hate, and trust me, I feel very strongly about my political beliefs, right? But even the people that I disagree with, they are exceptional to get there, right? And so that's the one thing that we need to understand is like people to get to these roles, these places that they've done these uncommon things and they've been able to be exceptional in so many ways. So what can we learn from them, right? Well, here's what the success is that leaves clues for all of us. Every time you talk to every high achiever, right? I have high achievers come and speak to my team pretty regularly. Every single time I ask about their morning routine, every time I don't tell them I'm going to ask about it, and every single time they tell me about a morning routine that is pretty rock solid, right? They all have a morning routine. Every time I ask them how they started their business and how they became, who they became, every single time they talked about an emphasis on lead gen, right? Lead gen was non-negotiable. It wasn't, Tony Robbins says, this is the difference between winners and losers. Losers just, they always should all over themselves. They I should do this. I should do this. I should do this. And they end up shoulding all over themselves, right? Where the reality is winners, it's a must. It's a non-negotiable. I am going to lead gen. There is not a day that is going to go by where I don't bring somebody new into my world and make something happen, right? General Mattis, right? He had a massive bias for action, right? And I'll just tell you, that is the difference between common and uncommon. The common think that the uncommon get lucky, right? They think the uncommon just happen to have things come their way, or oh, they just have the time to do it. No, they made the time to do it, right? They chose to be successful, right? And it's always two things. It's activity and skill, right? I have worked super hard to become skilled as a salesman, right? You all that are on this call, you guys are working on your skill, right? Well, here's the thing. No matter how skilled of a salesperson you go up against, if you talk to 1,000 people, and let's just pretend that I'm a great salesperson for just 1 second, we can all pretend. And I talk to 5 people in a day and you talk to 1,000 people in a day. And let's say you're a brand new salesperson. You haven't mastered the language of sales. You haven't mastered your salesmanship at all, but you talk to 1,000 people and I talk to 5. Who is going to get more clients that day? You are. Just by the nature of numbers. There's going to be people that are just stupid enough to work with whoever comes in front of them, even if it's not a good agent, right? And if you don't believe that that's true, when's the last time you talked to an agent and you said, holy crap, how did they get a client? I promise you it's happened, right? And it's the whole law of numbers, right? People just get in front of people, right? So if your activity is better than the common agent, you're going to have a better, you're just going to do better than that. But what happens if all of a sudden your activity is better and you're every single day, you do not let a day go by where you don't spend a minimum of half an hour, but I prefer an hour on personal development, right? Right now I'm listening to a sales book. I just started it yesterday. Now I forget the name of it, right? Actually I just finished Excellence Wins, right? And so now I'm on the sales acceleration formula, right? So I'm always listening to something, right? I'm always thinking, how can I get better? How can I get better? How can I move the ball forward, right? And so it's massive imperfect action, right? I don't do it all right, but as long as I do it more times than the wrong time, I'm voting on who I'm becoming, right? And so every single day I'm activity, right? Talk to people, but skill, get better at what I'm saying. And that just moves the ball forward. So if I talk to more people than everybody else, I'm going to be better. And then if I educate myself more than everybody else, then I'm going to be supercharged better, right? Is that making sense? So let's break that down into, that sounds good. One of the things that one of my mentors says to me is, Never education, always instruction. So let's break that down to instruction. What does that look like every day? Let's break it down to the infinite regress here for a second. Activity. What does it look like to do more activity than the common agent?
Well,
More consistency, I would say.
Yep. Every day. Not a day goes by where this is a must. There's not a day goes by that I am not talking to people. Right.
and you have like a consistent actions in your personal habits as well, right? So like that's folding over. And I think that that's sometimes a disconnect that most of us will make is, well, maybe I can have these bad personal habits, but my business habits are going to be okay, or vice versa. And it just doesn't work that way. So.
And see, I'm a disc profile guy. I'm a massively high D and a massively high I. If you never studied disc profile, I'll tell you, it'll help you in your salesmanship like crazy, right? But because I'm a massively high D, like I want what I want and I want it like 3 days ago, right? Like that's just the way that like I function, the way I look at things. But with that said, the hard thing for me was like, I look at my morning routine and it didn't all happen in one day, right? It was stuff that I added to it. And one of the things that I saw that was really, really powerful was because I want what I want it yesterday. So even now, like I'm stacking things together. So one of the phrases that I literally run through my mind when I know things aren't where I see them in my mind that I want them to be is this phrase: success is sequential. It's not simultaneous. Success is sequential. It's not simultaneous. Success is sequential. It's not simultaneous. I'm going to say it one more time because I'm sure there's other people that want to be way further than you are today. Success is sequential. It's not simultaneous. So when we get that, we understand that, okay, every morning I'm going to, whatever time, let's say you wake up at 7:30 every morning. Okay. I'm setting my alarm at 6 every day and I'm going to get up and I'm just going to show up to the gym. Right. So I'm doing the activity, right? I'm just showing up. Right. But maybe I'm showing up and I'm sitting there on the bench and watching TV the whole time, whatever, but you're showing up. Right. So you're starting the process, right? Massive imperfect action. Right. But then you just start adding these things. Right. So everything I find, like one of my former mentors said this. He said, listen, everybody sees me as a massively disciplined person, but that's not what I am. He's like, I'm not super disciplined. He's like, I pick one thing and I keep doing it until it becomes a habit, till it's harder not to do it than it is to do it. Right. And so in a normal life, right, like, when you're sleeping great, like for me, 6:15 rolls around and if I'm still in bed, my eyes are like, what the heck? Like why have you slept in? Like I don't understand it. Like my body just doesn't let me sleep in anymore. Right. Because the habit is to wake up early. Right. And all of a sudden that rolls around and I've slept through like whatever. And my body's just like, well, it's go time. Here we go. It's just natural. Right. But I'll tell you what, when I was waking up at 8 o'clock or 8:15, like trying to wake up even at 7 or 6 or 5:30, like that was just crazy to me. But now it's just natural, right? This is what I do, right? My body, it's just normal. So it's not a super big discipline for me because it's normal. Here's another one. I did 75 hard last year because I was letting myself go a little bit, right? And two of the things that I absolutely loved, and actually it was so funny because my wife would see the credit card bill and she's like, man, what are all these Wendy's things, right? And so like literally when I had a stressful day, I would always like my drug of choice was I would just drive by Wendy's and get a Frosty, right? Like on the way home, and it was not good for me. And so I was just like, no Frosties. I'm done. No Frosties. Like, that's it, and then like I was drinking soda and then I moved because when I started putting on weight, like a little more weight, I was like diet soda. Right. So I just decided when I did 75 hard, no sodas. Haven't had soda in over a year. Right. The other one was chips, like I literally would eat one bag and then I'd house a bag of chips. Right. So I'm like, I don't eat chips, right? So at first it was so hard not to drink soda. I would see them and my mouth would salivate, but now it's just like, this is what I do. At first I'd pick up, I'd be like, who am I going to call today? Who am I going to call? And then I'm just like, then after that, I'm just like, this is what I do. And I just start dialing, or here's my favorite one is I'm going to do research the people that I'm going to call before I do it. And then you sit there and research yourself to death in action. Right. And so then you never call somebody. It takes 15 minutes to do research. They don't even pick up. And then you have to 15 minutes of research for the next person you're going to call. And then they don't pick up. And then you like spent your whole time trying to research all these people that you didn't even talk to. Just pick up the freaking phone and call them, right? Call them, right? And the same thing's true with like your, working out, right? Think about this. When you go to work out, your heart rate goes up, right? And there's something called a HIIT workout, right? Where you're these like bursts. And like you do these bursts and like, man, it takes so much out of you, but it's like a burst, then slow down, burst, then slow down, burst, then slow down. Well, here's the issue when we're like the way our bodies are made, right? Our bodies are made to not transition over and over and over again, right? Or like when I was marathon training, they're called fartleks, right? Where you sprint really fast and then you slow down and run slow, and then sprint really fast and slow down and run slow. Like it takes a lot out of you. Well, the same thing is true in our lead generation. When we call somebody, I'm an extrovert. I don't mind calling, but when I call somebody, I have to ramp up to that. But then when I set the phone down and then go check email, do other things, my body just ramps down. And then I've got to ramp back up to call somebody again. And then I ramp back down. And it takes so much energy. I'm not doing good energy management. The difference is when I just decide for the next 2 hours, I am going to be on the phone for 2 hours. I'm not researching. I've got my list, literally, boom. I've got my list right here. Like I 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've got 12 people that I've got to call before the end of the day. 12 people left on my list, right? When I finish this, I am on the phone until I get all those 12 people done, right? I'm ramping up and I'm doing all that while I'm ramped up, and then I'm done, right? Because it takes so much energy to ramp up, change, and then ramp back up, and then change. Like it robs you of your energy. That's the only way to get moving forward. And I'm a high energy guy, and to begin with, shocker, I know, shocker. But I'm a high energy guy, but I'm telling you, I also work to manage my energy because I know that that's absolutely important to be the person that I've wanted to become. All right, I just did like a 5 minutes, 8 minute, 10-minute monologue. I'm going to stop here. What do we want to discuss, talk about, anything else on that front?
Thank you for the high energy. It's important. So if no one else will say it, I'm glad that it's there.
Chris, I was thinking about you saying you can do anything for 15 minutes a day. And that really goes back to you talking about where's your goal if you lose sight of it. So, we can make it as small as what is our goal for that day and then that week, as you described. So I really appreciate the reminder of, 15 minutes. Okay, I'll go one more mailbox. So thank you for that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Having that idea, and then also being able to wrap around and just say, like, I don't have to, like, the majority vote wins. So it's okay when I have those days that, like, I don't think I know. I am my own worst enemy and my own worst critic. And so, like, when something doesn't happen when I want it to happen or how I thought it should happen or in the time that it should happen, then I'm just like, well, okay. So for me to be able to say, okay, the majority of vote is winning for me. I'm voting on myself, like, that day. And like, that's how that was. That just really kind of clicked in my head, and makes a lot of sense. So majority vote wins.
That's great. And I'll tell you, if you run out of people to call, first, I would say call your sphere of influence. So a big portion of our business is off market, right? Like totally off market, flips, wholesales, other stuff like that. Never hits the MLS, any of that. The other piece is, so like 48.2% of our business comes from our sphere of influence and past clients, right? Like, so we're reaching out to them, we're talking to them, we're being present in their life, we're adding value. For me, when I was in ministry, I would literally call people every day and just be like, hey, just thinking about you. How can I pray for you? Anything going on in your life I can help you with, right? That was like my question. If I had time, I would just call them and ask them how I could serve them, you know? And then when everybody was like, I got in real estate and they're like, call your sphere. And I'm like, well, what do I do? Like, what does that mean? And they're like, just call your sphere. So literally I would just pick a day and I'm like, this is my A day. I'm calling everybody, Alan, Adam, Amanda, Angela, like call everybody I know and just be like, hey, just thinking about you, you know, anything I can do for you, anything I can do to serve you. Literally, that was it. But what I've learned is there's a law of reciprocity, right? So when you do something nice for somebody else, like when's the last time you got a birth, or like a Christmas present from somebody that you didn't get a Christmas present for them? And you're like, oh man, like the universe is out of balance. I got to do something nice for you now. Like you feel awkward on that. But when you just call and treat people well, they're going to ask you about your life. And then they're going to say, how can I help you? Like, that's just the way the universe works. Right. And then, you know, real estate, well, if you know anybody looking to buy, sell, or invest in the next 12 months, that would really be helpful for me, you know, like, you know, just keep me in mind, you know, like all of a sudden then you're top of mind in your mind. You didn't bring it up. You didn't call them leading off with like, hey, help me, right? You called and said, how can I serve you, right? And I'll tell you, if we live our lives in service to others and helping others, helping other people achieve their goal, just helping people, I'm telling you, the universe rewards that, right? That's the way that I believe that our universe was created, right? And so when we treat people well, good things happen. So you call and just like love on people, honor them. That's it. But then let's say you run out of that. So here's my system for your sphere. Our system for the sphere is find a lender, a title company, or insurance people, get them to help you sponsor 4 events a year, 1 a quarter. And literally you call everybody and you just literally invite them to that event once a quarter. So everybody you know gets called 4 times. I call it your wedding list. If you were going to get married and you wanted to invite everybody you possibly could and have the biggest wedding you could of people that you like, put them on your list and make sure you call them, every single one of them, once a quarter, and invite them to something you would want to go to, whether it's a winery, whether it's like, heck, the new Batman movie's coming out and we got, you know, we rented out the theater. I've got 4 tickets for you and your family. You want to come or know anybody that does? Like literally stuff that people would be like, dang, thanks for inviting me. That like maybe most people will say no, like they can't, they got other plans, whatever. But the fact that you called them means you gave them a gift, right? So then they want to give back, the law of reciprocity, right? So we're giving to people. But then once you run out of that, let's say you do that and then you're like, who do I call? Who do I text? Who do I reach out to? Literally, if you reach out to me, I've got some data companies where they've got cell phone numbers of people that are likely to sell. You know, people like go through all the algorithms, people that are likely to sell. You just literally send 20, 30, 40 texts. You have to be individual texts. You can't send mass texts or you'll get yourself into trouble. But you send individual texts, which is completely legal, to everybody. And you just say, you know, let them know that you're looking to either buy or that you've got a buyer for their house. Would they be interested in selling? You give them a call, you send a text, you even could send direct mail, and you can also get email. I think it's like 14 cents a record to get like the data and their cell phone numbers on that. So you can reach out to people like that. There's driving for dollars, which is if you go to there's an app called Deal Machine. And if you use the code uncommon, it's they'll give you a massive discount on it. And all you do is you literally, every time you leave your house, you have a map function, just like Waze or Google or whatever. And every time you see a house that looks dilapidated or or like just it doesn't fit with the rest of the neighborhood, you just press the button on that map function and it'll go in there. And I think it's 14 cents a record. And I think you get a discount if you use that code uncommon. They will skip trace that number for you and give you the cell phone number of those people. And you can call, I always get to 150 before you do it. You can call all those 150 people. You can text all those 150 people. And in the app there, you can also press a button and they'll send a postcard to those 150 people. And I'm telling you, those are people that are likely to sell. You can't call 5, 6 of them and be like, oh, this doesn't work. It's 150. You will get deals if you call 150 of those people. So those are just a couple things that we can do to have action, like real life, like do these things and you have no excuses. You can't say, I don't have anybody to call. Boom. I just gave you people to call. Literally, that data set, you get for $200, you can have enough people to call and text or whatever for the next 2 months. So yeah, that's the deal. All right. Boom. I keep talking for way too long and maybe it's because this heat is just coming at me.
No, this is really, really great stuff. And I keep monitoring to see if we've got any other questions, but we've got some good comments in the live stream. I don't see any questions. People are just commenting, asking how to get a hold of you. I did let a few people know they can find you in Workplace as well if they want to chat you that way, if that's easier. There is a question. I'm new to an area with no sphere. And I know you just mentioned some things, but what would you give somebody some advice on that? And, you know, who do they call? What would you do first? I mean, just with your years of experience.
Yeah, 100%. You have no sphere. There's 3 things that I do. Download the app, Deal Machine right away. One of my buddies, so I do a lot of coaching in the investor space, and one of my buddies who does coaching in the driving for dollars space, he had a bet. I think he was going to give something like, 50 grand to charity if he didn't do it. He was going to go to an area that he's never been to before and prove that he could make $40,000 in 40 days in an area that he has no relationships at all, just through driving for dollars. So he's out in Utah. He went down to Tampa, Florida, and he just drove around with the app, Deal Machine open, and literally just every single house that he saw that was under the average of the market, tall grass, rotting trim, whatever it was that didn't fit the neighborhood demographics, he just marked it in and just kept calling, texting, sending postcards, and literally made 40 grand in 40 days. And, he did it so he didn't have to give his money to charity, which he probably gave money to charity anyway. But that was the deal. So I would say that was the one thing. And yes, in the Deal Machine, use the promo code UNCOMMON. You'll get a massive discount on it. So that's one. Number 2 is if you reach out to me either through Workplace or I'm on TikTok, Chris Craddock Official, Instagram at Craddock, an old cheesy high school nickname, which I probably should change, but I don't know. Reach out on any of those places. I will connect you with my buddy who has the data. Normally, you have to buy data in one place and buy the skip trace phone numbers in the other. He sells it all together as a package. So it's actually a stellar deal. I think it's either 14 or 15 cents a record. And you literally can pick a zip code and just say, hey, I want 50,000 people that are likely to sell in this zip code. And then you just call and text, and also you get emails as well. Call, text, email in those places. And those would be the ways that I would go after it. I'd also say, understand that you don't only have to list those properties, right? You can buy them. If you never understood wholesaling, you can wholesale properties as well, which is, if you know that like somebody, even as a realtor, right? Like, you get somebody to help you with this, but let's say somebody wants $200,000 for their property. You've just reached out to them. You say, I want to sell, I want 200,000 for it. But then you go to Zillow or you do your comps or whatever, and you see that on that MLS, it would sell for 300 like today. Then you can lock it up for 200. You can either buy it for 200. You could do something called wholetailing, which is you buy it, either with your own money, or you can get hard money or private money from somewhere else. And then you just put it back on the MLS, like the next day after you buy it. You could wholesale it, which means you buy it for 200, you sell the contract for, 230, 250, something like that. Or you can just say, hey, I'll list it. And here's some of the other stuff. Like I don't think there's any problem with listing a property. If somebody wants 200 and you're getting them more, like I take 8 and 9% commissions at times. Well, my team does, because I don't meet with as many people now as I did, but our team will take 8 and 9% commissions on deals and help them sell totally as is, way under market, and get them more than what they wanted to get. So those are some of the things that I would say are ways that you can make money if you don't live in that area.
And there's a lot of opportunities, like you said, if you can't list those properties, use express offers inside EXP. That's another thing, is we all have access to become express offer certified. If somebody needs to sell that property, doesn't want to list it traditionally, can't, it's needing a lot of repairs, throw that property in express offer, see if you can get an investor client to purchase it if you aren't connected with a lot of local investors, and you get paid. So there's just a lot of resources. You can come to those appointments and have those conversations with a lot of tools in your tool belt. So make sure that you engage in all the things here at EXP so you know what you actually have access to, which I think is something that a lot of people don't take the time to do, is to know, like, what do I have in front of me that I can actually go make work to my benefit? You could offer to, help them do an open house and just get some buyer leads into a property that isn't even on market yet, because you're a realtor and you can do it and see if some buyers come in and, get both sides of the transaction, or find yourself some buyer leads, even if the property doesn't sell. There's so many creative things. And I think, Chris, the people that think outside of the box and are just willing to go try something and get into action are the people that end up getting a result. It's if we think too much and we're not sure if it's going to work, and so then we don't do it, or we try to prepare. It's like, we just got to get out there and do something. And if we fail forward, we fail forward, and then we know it doesn't work, but what was good about that experience and how can we translate it into the next action? And then that's the person that just keeps getting into more and more action. To your point, that's the person that gets the results, is the increased and consistent action. But we got to have some creativity to get out there and have action items to do. So I love this conversation. As we wrap up, does anybody want to share something that they heard that they think that they can immediately employ in their business?
And let me just share one last thing too about this, because I know a lot of times agents feel a little weird about like buying a house under market or whatever. One thing that you've really got to understand is that everybody's values are not your values. I learned that when I told somebody one time, I'm like, I can buy your house, but it was a good friend of a friend. I was like, it just would be way less and you shouldn't take it. And he's like, no, I want the cash offer. And you know that that's true, because any of us that sold our car, that traded in a car to a dealership, you'll make more money on Craigslist, right? But you prefer to get less money for the convenience. So there are other people. Don't take, even though I want the most money for my house, just understand that not everybody has the same values. Maybe they don't want people coming through the house. Maybe they want clean and convenient. Maybe they want certainty. Maybe they want fast. There are other reasons there. So just understand that you can still have a fiduciary there. But if you buy under market, you need to disclose that you're an agent, you're buying under market, you're buying for profit, all of that. But just know that your values are not always other people's values as far as what they want.
It's a very important thing, because what's important to somebody at that time, by the way, 6 months earlier may not have been important to them, but today something is really important to them. And if you're just good at asking those questions and you understand that you're just serving them in the moment of the place that they need to be served. That's why even some people say, well, what about express offers? Why wouldn't they just put the house on the market? There are people that just say, I do not want to. I'm not interested. I do not want this house on the market. There are some privacy things, there are relational things, there's a whole bunch of things. So we just need to have the tools in our tool belt, share the pros and the cons, disclose, and then find out what's important to them and then figure out a way to deliver that. If we can do that, that's the thing that a lot of realtors aren't doing. They're just, tunnel vision into one way to serve people, or they're nervous about, their values being somebody else's, and they're not executing on how can I actually go and serve the person at this moment in the way that's going to be best for them. And how can I do that? So you gotta educate yourself. Is there any, as we wrap up the call, any places, well, your podcast would actually be one. So what is the podcast called? I'm going to chat it in the chat box, Chris.
It's called Uncommon Real Estate.
So subscribe to the podcast, because I think there's some great tips, especially if you're looking at potentially investing in real estate, working with more investors, thinking outside of the box and some of this stuff, right, Chris? It's both for agents and investors, to my understanding.
Yes.
That'd be a great place to go to after this call if you want to continue to think differently. But anybody else want to mention anything on an action item? Or are you guys good as we wrap up today? I know we've taken a full hour of Chris's time, so I want to wrap up and respect all of your time. But any last ahas or something they just want to say before we sign off, you guys?
I'll just say thank you, Chris, and Carrie, everybody who's here. So thank you so much.
It was great information. If you guys didn't get inspired to go take some action today, I don't know what is going to inspire you, because Chris is a very motivational and inspiring guy. I really appreciate it. Chris is going to be back. So if you guys haven't seen our lineup for August, you'll want to make sure that you come back and invite a friend, invite a guest to the next one. We had a lot of people watching live stream, so thanks to you guys for that as well. Chris, thanks for being here. I'm sure you're going to get some work chats. We really appreciate you, and we're going to check out your podcast.
Sounds good. See you guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.